This is Bruce Banner from Earth 123. And when he was older, he actually worked in a science lab until something went wrong. And all of a sudden, Bruce was exposed to gamma radiation that changed his body and turned him into the Incredible Hulk. This man, Bruce Banner, was now an absolute weapon of mass destruction. And he is definitely useful for taking down some bad guys. But it turns out that a man named Nick Fury was gonna need him for something far more important. Because there was a multiversal threat that was looking to destroy the game of football. So Nick Fury was thinking about adding Bruce Banner to the team to stop them. But first you have to make sure the Hulk was prepared by seeing just how dominant he can be on the field. So today I am putting Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, into College Football 26. Let's see how much of an impact he can make on the field as we follow him on his road to glory. Now Bruce Banner was too old to play high school football, so he was thinking about going to college. But since Nick Fury was putting together a team of players including guys like Steve Rogers, well, it turns out to have a private program going on that is actually run by S.H.I.E.L.D. They had the inside connections to any college in the country, but Bruce Banner pretty much already had his top 10 laid out. He couldn't wait to go ahead and pick his college team soon, but he was looking forward to getting into his first game with his new team. A team full of extra ability players, including guys like Tony Stark. Wow, that's crazy, man. It turns out that this is a program where they play against some of the top mutants and metahumans in the world to prepare them for the NFL. And although Bruce definitely wants to play in the NFL someday to take down that multiversal threat, he is also looking to earn himself some scholarships as he heads into the first game of the season. Now, it was not long into the first game in the program where Bruce was proving that he was an absolute wrecking machine. He was just way bigger than everybody else, man. There was nobody who was stopping him. And it turns out that the S.H.I.E.L.D. program already had tons of colleges calling about Bruce Banner. In his first ever game in the program, he is already ranked as a top 10 player in the nation. Now, as of now, Bruce was a middle linebacker, and he was a major problem for any offense that opposed him. He was absolutely relentless, and pretty much came up with a tackle for loss every time he was on the field. And when the opposing offense didn't go for a loss, the Hulk was still smacking the ball carrier into a different timeline. Bruce Banner was clearly a dominant force, and that's why he was the #1 player in the country by the end of the program. Every single school in the nation wanted Bruce, but he was still trying to figure out where to go to. Soon he would have a good answer though, as it was time to make his college decision. And it turns out that his top 3 were Tulane, Miami, and Michigan State. And after thinking about it for a little bit, Bruce had decided that he was gonna go to Miami? Oh, wait a minute, hold on. He was flipping his decision, and Bruce Banner was headed to the Tulane Greenway. And now that the Incredible Hulk is here with Tulane, he cannot wait to get angry and get into practice so he can really show the coaches what he can do. And pretty early the coaches saw that there was no way they were going to have him start at linebacker. Instead, they felt like he would be more useful down there at the interior D-line, which is exactly where they were going to start him heading into the first game of the season. Bruce Banner was locked in, he was angry, and he was ready to help his team come up with a win in their first game of the season. Which shouldn't be too hard as they're about to face off against the worst team on their schedule, FCS Southeast. Now on the very first play of the game, FCS Southeast knew that they had a big problem on their hands. This man Bruce Banner had single-handedly destroyed their opening drive with multiple tackles for loss. But by the time the second quarter came around, even when the Hulk was being double-teamed, he would still come up with his first sack of the season. It was clear they had no way of guarding Bruce Banner, and by the fourth quarter they would be down 28-0. But even then, the Hulk was still not letting up as he came up with another sack, putting an end to another drive, and at this point doing enough to put an end to this game. As Tulane starts the season off 1-0 with a 35-0 blowout. They had absolutely destroyed their opponents thanks to a huge game from Bruce Banner. He put up 5 tackles for loss and 2.5 sacks in a game where his opponent didn't even pick up a first down. So this was definitely already a good start to the season for Bruce, but it would get even better after getting a message from Natasha Romanoff. It turns out that she's going to be a coordinator for the team that Nick Fury is putting together, and she just wanted to wish Bruce some luck on his season. And hey, I'm not gonna lie, man, Bruce thought that she was fine as hell, so he knew that he had to lock in and really come out here and be great so that he can hopefully get a chance with her. So he is looking forward to another opportunity to have a big game as he is heading into his next one, where he will be at home facing off against an SEC opponent, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Now on the opening drive of the game, Bruce had almost pushed his right guard on his back before he rushed the QB and got home for a sack. Holy shit, this man is going crazy, and we're only just getting started. Because on the next drive, Mississippi State would find themselves backed up on their own 5-yard line, which turned out to be a terrible place to be when the Hulk was coming for the quarterback. He gets in for a sack that ends up being a safety. The first one of the season for Tulane, and at this point he has actually accounted for more points in their offense, until later on where Tulane would put up a field goal. but it looks like the defense might have a chance to put up even more points after Bruce smacks this quarterback and forces a fumble that is taken to the crib for a touchdown. Bruce Banner was annihilating Mississippi State, helping his team take a 22-0 lead in the fourth quarter where he was still blowing up that quarterback. He is out here putting up another incredible performance and helping his team come up with another win. The Green Wave start the season off with back-to-back shutouts, and Bruce Banner was being recognized for having a game with 5 sacks. He had just annihilated Mississippi State, so it's reasonable that he is now becoming a fan favorite, which he definitely deserves after breaking the single-game record for sacks. The Hulk was already putting his name in the Tulane record books, but he still felt like he had potential to do so much more. And he couldn't wait to get into his next game where he would have another opportunity to do so, as Tulane was heading on the road for the first time of their season, where they would be set to face off against the Charlotte 49ers. Now it's safe to say that the Hulk was starting this game off with a bang. From the very opening possession, he was out here taking on double teams and coming up with big tackles for loss in the backfield. By the second quarter though, for what I believe is the first time all season, Charlotte was able to pick up a first down on this Tulane defense, coming up with a big play and showing that this defense is not invincible, at least for the most part, because they did still have a monster coming up the middle. Yeah man, this game was 24-0 by the fourth quarter, and anytime Bruce was not double teamed, he was easily getting in the backfield for a tackle for loss. He came out here and just unequivocally dominated this game, ultimately helping Charlotte move to 3-0 on the year, and they still have not let up a single point this season. The Green Wave were having a historical start to their year, and it was definitely thanks to their new star defensive tackle who was actually about to get even better. Because so far throughout the year, Bruce had to get prepared by getting angry and then transforming into the Hulk. But throughout the week when he was working in his lab, he was able to merge his two personalities, and now Bruce Banner can be the Hulk all the time. And on top of that, he feels like he can play even better on the field, but we'll see about that heading into his next game, because Tulane will be heading on the road to face off against the best team that they've seen so far this season, as they're set to match up with the North Texas Mean Green. Now on the opening possession of the game for North Texas, they got to see just how mean this green is on the other side as the Hulk came up with a sack. This man was now pulling out moves that he hadn't used all season, and he was making a play that helped set the tone for his team as he came out here on 3rd down and long and helped pressure the quarterback as this defense came up with the stop. Now the Hulk's dominance did not stop there as he came up with another sack here later on in the first quarter, and by the second quarter he was in the backfield again to derail another North Texas drive, bringing us to the very end of the second quarter where North Texas got the ball off a turnover, and they were actually finding a way to pick up a first down to move themselves in field goal range, ultimately ending the half with 3 points, which was the first 3 points that this defense had scored on them all season. And although in the third quarter it seemed like there was a chance that North Texas could make something happen, this quarterback would end up fumbling the ball and turned it over to Tulane as they were able to pick up their 4th win of the season. The Green Wave come up with another blowout victory, and once again they were being led by their miraculous defense. They had one of the most dominant players in all of college football, as through 4 games the Hulk already had 25 tackles for loss and 14.5 sacks. That is nothing short of absolutely incredible, especially 4 games into the year. But still, this was nothing compared to what the Hulk felt like he could really do, and he was looking forward to coming out here and proving that heading into his next game, where Tulane would be set to face off against UAB. Now UAB was looking like one of the tougher teams that Tulane would see all season, but this opening drive would say otherwise, because the Hulk would force a fumble that ends up going all the way back to the end zone, and it was picked up by a lineman who was tackled for a safety. This was already a huge game to start this game off. But after the Green Wave gave the ball back to UAB on their own 2-yard line, Tulane was able to come up with another safety. This game was 4-0, and I've never seen a score like that in my life. But eventually it would change by the second half as Tulane was up 10-0. And with the Hulk now being the strongest and smartest player on the field, he knew how to get to the quarterback. He was absolutely unstoppable even with a double team, because regardless, Bruce Banner was still getting home for sacks. UAB had literally no answer for Bruce by the fourth quarter. And it would only be because of a turnover by Tulane that they would find themselves down inside the red zone, where on a 4th down and 14, they put up the first touchdown of the season on Tulane. UAB was putting up points that looked like it gave them an opportunity to win this game. But Tulane would end up going 24-7 with 2 minutes left, and after the Incredible Hulk came out here and sacked the quarterback again, there was absolutely no hope at this point as he accounted for another safety, putting up an outstanding performance in a game that led the Green Wave to a 5-0 start to this season. Tulane would win this one 26-7, and the Incredible Hulk put up 8 sacks on the day. Oh wait, my bad, 8.5 sacks on the day. This is an almost unimaginable performance, because Bruce was going on to set the national single game record for sacks. This was something that the nation had never seen before, and rightfully so. He had earned himself his first National Defensive Player of the Week. I am actually surprised that he had not won that award sooner, but I am not surprised about his answer to why his team had had so much success. The Hulk at this point in the year was one of the most dominant forces that college football had ever seen, and he was looking to keep it that way heading into a home game against Rice, where he would continue to get stops in the backfield. And honestly, one of the most underrated parts about Bruce's game is how much he helps his teammates out. He is such an imposing force that sometimes he is being doubled or triple teamed, which frees up other defenders to get in the backfield to make a play. Overall though, he was the main problem for opposing offenses, and he was definitely the main reason why Tulane was moving to 6-0 on the year. They take down Rice 28-3 thanks to another 3-sack game from the Hulk, doing enough to put him as the leader for the national single season record for sacks. The Incredible Hulk is only halfway through his season, and he was already establishing himself as one of the greatest defensive players in college football history. But to be fair, with the kind of schedule that Tulane has, a lot of people kind of thought that this was a fluke, and that if Bruce Wayne was actually any good, he would be able to help his team take down their next opponent, which just so happened to be the first top 25 team that they've seen all season, and they were being led by the #1 quarterback in the nation. As it turns out that the Hulk was going to be on the road to match up against Steve Rogers and the Ole Miss Rebels. Oh nah, it turned out that Steve Rogers had transferred to Ole Miss after a year with the Army, and he was already dicing up this defense. He ended up getting the Rebels down inside scoring range, where Captain America felt like he had a chance to make a play. Unfortunately for him, it looked like the Hulk had the same feeling as he sacked Steve Rogers on first down. The Hulk was already making plays against the best player he's seen all year. But you know what, man, he knew that he was only just getting started, because on the very next play, he came up with another sack. The Hulk was already making an impact on this game in the first quarter, and even he almost couldn't believe that he was not just doing this against the top 25 team in the nation, but he was doing this against Captain America as his defense came up with the stop. Now, the Hulk had continued to live in his backfield throughout the first half of the game, and even when he didn't get completely home for a tackle, he was often able to force a bad throw that led to a stop. Unfortunately, with Bruce Banner still having an impact on this game, there was only so much he can do, because Steve Rogers was always going to find a way to make a play. And with 30 seconds left in the half, he did, with a huge pass downfield that hits the receiver in the hands in stride and allows him to get to the end zone for a touchdown. Only the second one scored on Tulane all season, and there wasn't much the Hulk could do as Captain America made this a one-possession game. Bringing us now to the second half, where this Ole Miss offense was moving once again. Things were looking real bad here for Tulane as the Rebels would drive into scoring range, but on a 3rd down and 5, the Hulk smashed this running back to the ground. He definitely gave that man CTE, but it's all good because Tulane would still be up 3 in the second half. Unfortunately though, it seemed like Ole Miss was really threatening to change that. They were driving all the way downfield and found a way to get to the 12-yard line, where they decided to settle for a field goal and tie this game up before Tulane would take the lead back. The Green Wave were up by a touchdown with less than 10 seconds left. But I'm not gonna lie, Steve Rogers is driving his way downfield. And although he's using up his last timeouts, he still has a chance to get to the end zone. But this defense gets a stop just yards away with no time on the clock. And the Green Wave are able to stay undefeated against the best quarterback in the nation. Both sides of the ball came up clutch in this game, but it didn't mean that Steve Rogers didn't do his thing. He had about as good of a game that you can have against a team that has the Hulk on it, but either way, Bruce Banner and the Green Wave got the job done. And because they did, the Hulk was getting a lot of attention. I mean, he was constantly having people come up to him and ask for pictures. And to be honest with y'all, I can absolutely not say that I blame him, because throughout his season, the Hulk continued to be one of the most petrifying forces in the entire nation. Especially playing against weaker teams, anytime that he was not being doubled, it would most likely result in a tackle for loss. But even on plays where Bruce didn't quite make it into the backfield, he was definitely still making an impact, as he would go on to help his team move to 8-0 on the year. Tulane was moving up as a top 25 squad in the country, and at this point opposing teams were starting to reconcile with the fact that they just could not guard the Hulk. He helped them get to 9-0 on the year, and soon they were a top 15th ranked team in the nation. But they were hoping that they can stay undefeated as they were about to face off against one of the better teams that they've seen all season, the 7-2 Memphis Tigers. Now throughout the first half of this game, it was going like any other game would, as Bruce Banner was coming up with a sack. He was already making an impact in his first half, and he continued to throughout the second quarter. But that Memphis squad was showing that they had a little bit of fight in them by picking up a first down. But that's about all they would get on offense throughout the first half, as by the fourth quarter they were down 10-2. And after a Tulane turnover, Memphis was in position to put up some points, but the Hulk was not having it. He was taking down this quarterback on a drive that ultimately led to a 4th down and 23, where all the defense had to do was just come out here and get the stop. Tulane is finding itself in another close game, and on this 2-point conversion, the defense needs to come up with another play to close it out, and they do! The Memphis Green Wave keep their season alive as they take down one of the best opponents on their schedule thanks to a 6-sack performance from the Incredible Hulk. He showed up big in a game where his team needed him most on the field, earning himself another National Defensive Player of the Week. At this point in the season though, man, Bruce knew that he just had to stay locked in. He had a chance to help Tulane get to the college football playoffs, but the only way to do that is if they could find a way to close out their regular season, starting right here in their next game against Navy. Early on, Navy would find himself in great field position off a Tulane turnover, but the Hulk would stop them on 3rd down, coming up with a sack that forces them to settle for a field goal and seemed to have bring a lot of momentum towards the Green Wave's way. Because although they were not able to put up any points on offense, the Hulk was able to come out here on defense and force a fumble, causing a turnover in enemy territory that led to a tie ball game, where a few drives later after another Tulane turnover, Navy was back in scoring range but again got stopped on 3rd down. By the end of the second quarter, the Hulk started to turn it up a bit though, as he came up with his 3rd sack of the day, bringing us to the second half where Tulane was up by 2 possessions, and at this point the Hulk was already too much for this offensive line. He just continued to make play after play on the Navy as there was no way of stopping him, and by the end of this one, Tulane was moving to 11-0 on the year. The Green Wave pretty much just annihilate Navy in this one, and it was mostly thanks to a game where Bruce Banner had 12 tackles for loss and 7 sacks, earning yet another National Defensive Player of the Week, and unsurprisingly, he was extremely confident heading into the final game of the year, where against a 7-4 Texas A&M, the Hulk had absolutely no problem eviscerating this offensive line. He was just as dominant as he had been all season, and there was even one play at the end of the game where the Hulk was able to come up with 2 tackles, putting up another incredible performance in a game that led his team to a perfect 12-0 regular season. They end the year with another shutout on the road, and on top of Bruce Banner earning another National Defensive Player of the Week, Tulane would also earn a spot in the conference championship, where they would now have an opportunity to punch their ticket to the college football playoffs, and that was mostly going to be due to the Incredible Hulk having an outstanding regular season. I mean, I don't even know if outstanding really puts it into words. I mean, look at these numbers. The Hulk has 63 tackles for loss and 52.5 sacks. That is almost unfathomable. College football fans have not seen stats this crazy since Barry Allen ran for 3,000 yards. And Tulane fans have not seen their team be this great since 1998. But now they have a chance to be even greater, because Bruce Banner is leading the team into their biggest game of the year. They're about to match up against the best team in the conference for a chance to get to the college football playoffs. But the only way that they'll be able to officially punch their ticket is if they can find a way to take down UTSA. Now this was actually a game where early on Bruce was not doing much himself, but he was opening up the door for his teammates to come up with some big plays. This Tulane defense had been playing as well as they had all season, even though the Hulk seemed like he was struggling a little bit. Eventually though, he would begin to start making his impact felt, and that seemed to make all the difference in this game, because by the fourth quarter Tulane was up 26-0, and after the Hulk comes up with another sack on the day, he had already done enough to help his team get to the college football playoffs, the first ever postseason appearance in their program history, and the entire team was thankful that they had the Incredible Hulk to lead the way. This man not only helped them become the American Conference champions, but he went on to help his coach win Coach of the Year as they were a perfect 13-0. On top of that, Bruce Banner would go on to earn the Sean Alexander Award for the best freshman in the entire country. Now, unfortunately, he did not go on to win the Heisman Trophy, which a lot of people were upset about. A 2,000-yard season is nothing compared to a guy who put up 55 sacks and 63 tackles for loss. The Hulk went on to earn himself the Chuck Bednarik, Bronco Nagurski, and the Lombardi Award, easily establishing himself as the best defensive player in the nation, and it was not even close at all. He had 40 more tackles for loss and sacks than the next player. I mean, again, this is just unfathomable numbers that the nation will likely never see from another defensive player again. So understandably, the Hulk was feeling very confident heading into the playoffs, but everything seemed to change when he was out on a mission and he ran into Thanos And although the Hulk thought he had him at first, Thanos would start fighting back. And oh nah, Bruce just got dropped. And Thanos let him know that if he ever catches him again, he is going to destroy him like he has been destroying football teams throughout the multiverse. And I'm not gonna lie, man, the Hulk's confidence was definitely shaken going into the college football playoffs. He wasn't feeling too much like himself at this point, but you know what? He was still trying to lock in because he knew he was leading his team into the biggest game of the program's history. They had a chance to make it to the national championship. The only way to do that, though, is if they could find a way to take down a top 10 team in the country, with Tulane set to face off against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Now, Tulane started this game off with a turnover in their own territory. So we begin with the first down at the 17-yard line where the Hulk was smashing the ball carrier in the backfield. He comes up with a huge play that puts the Red Raiders behind the sticks, and on third down he was drawing a double team that allowed a linebacker to come up with the stop and force Texas Tech to settle for a field goal that they actually did not hit. The Green Wave would be up 3-0 in the second quarter, but it looked like that was about to change, because somehow this quarterback was able to escape from the Hulk. And I'm not gonna lie, man, on this drive at the end of the half, Texas Tech is coming up with some plays to move them into scoring range. They ended up getting down to the 11-yard line where this quarterback threw to the end zone for a touchdown. Tulane was losing for the first time all season. So this was obviously not a great way to end the half, but you know what? In the second half, they got the Red Raiders to a 3rd down and 9, and the Hulk was getting to the quarterback, but they still were able to come up with the play and move the sticks. Hey man, something is going on here, bruh. They would even get to a 3rd down where the Hulk was just not able to get off his block, but luckily his teammate was to get home for a sack. Man, what is happening with the Hulk? This is not good, especially after Tulane was not able to put up a touchdown. So we're now here in the 4th quarter on a drive where Texas Tech is looking to put an end to Tulane's season. And unfortunately, they are literally inches away from doing so as they get to a 3rd down. The Hulk had to find a way to make a play here and come up with the stop, but this quarterback throws the ball to the opposite side of the field and allows a receiver to go ahead and pick up a 1st down and officially put an end to Bruce Banner's freshman season. Tulane would lose their first game of the year in the college football playoffs, and it would be in a game where they only let up 10 points. So although the Hulk did not have the most incredible game, he was definitely let down by his offense. As far as his final season stats though, the Hulk had a phenomenal year. I mean, I literally don't think I have the vocabulary to accurately describe just how incredible this season was. The man went on to not only break a national single game record for sacks, but it turns out that his national single season record for sacks is also the national career record for sacks. The Hulk was an unfathomably dominant force throughout the year. And at this point, Nick Fury knew that he had already seen enough, man. He is looking forward to adding Bruce Banner to the team, but with him still needing to pull in a couple more recruits, that allowed time for the Hulk to figure out what he wanted to do with his future for now. He was thinking about potentially transferring to a new college, which would definitely be a big decision, but I'll leave that decision up to you guys. If you want to see a part 2 of the Incredible Hulk in College Football 25, be sure to get this video to 1,000 likes and subscribe to the channel down below. Also, be sure to comment down below who else you guys want to see next, and YouTube thinks you'll like one of these other stories until the next one comes out. If you got to this point in the video, just know that I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. I hope you all are having a great week, and other than that, I'm gonna catch you guys next time.